Dave Rubin is with us now. This is not, Dave, and I appreciate the time, this is not an argument just on the right. This is not an argument just on the left. Some people are out there arguing that the United States is being too involved with Iran and the way that we are engaging right now with the attacks from Israel. What would you say to those people?
Well, my general take here would be that we should just let Israel do its thing. I would take the same approach to Israel that I would take with any sovereign Western nation, which is if they feel they have an existential threat basically on their borders, and they've been fighting at least a seven-front war here, Iran has made no it's not like they've been sort of joking around when they chant death to Israel, death to America, death to the UK, by the way, and sort of all of Europe. So Israel decided that it needed to take matters into its own hands. As for what we should do as Americans, I am 100% against American boots on the ground or anything like that. I haven't heard anyone offer or even request anything like that. The Israelis are very proud. I was just in Israel last week. I know you were there not too long ago, Clay. They're very proud that they are doing this on their own. They would like some material support. They may need some munitions. They might need some help fighting some of the nonsensical fights at the UN or the ICC or that sort of stuff. But the truth is, and I think this is fairly obvious, that most of the world wants Israel to do this. The Arab countries, in all the other wars, if we look back at the War for Independence, 1948, or you look at the 1967 war or 73 Yom Kippur War, every time Israel was attacked, all of the Arab nations would jump on top of them and try to get in on it. Then they would subsequently lose territory. This time, everybody's kind of quiet. Jordan's not jumping in on this. Egypt's not jumping in on this. The Saudis certainly aren't. The other Gulf states are actually in peace deals with Israel, many of them now. So I think the getting rid of the Iranian regime is within Israel's right, in that the regime has decided the destruction of Israel is its number one priority. And hopefully the people of Iran step up, and this is nothing like, say, Iraq or Libya or some of the other adventures in the past.
I think that's important. Imagine we played an audio clip of the Iranian propaganda television station getting hit that's gone viral now on social media. And I give credit to my understanding that Elon Musk has turned on Starlink. And when they've tried to shut down the internet, this is allowing Iranian people to get on and be able to see what's being said by someone other than state media. If you're in Iran right now and you got Israeli fighter jets flying over Tehran all over your entire country, they're raining down very targeted attacks on Iranian military and governmental infrastructure. If you've been told for 2 generations we're going to sweep Israel off the map, and you've spent tens of billions of dollars, maybe even hundreds of billions of dollars in Iranian people money to do that, and then you're getting wiped out in the space of about 48 hours, you don't even have the ability to scramble fighter jets to take on Israel. Doesn't that maybe suggest that your government hasn't been advancing in your best interest and make it hard for you to believe that the Ayatollah offers the best possible pathway to peace and prosperity for your family?
Well, that's the real tragedy here. The Persian people are a wonderful people. I mean, I used to live in L.A. Every other person I bumped into was Persian. Now I live in Miami. Every other person I bump into is Cuban. And the Persians are people who love freedom. Don't forget, Clay, if you haven't seen them, I'm sure you have, but if your audience hasn't seen them or listened to them, you can find videos on YouTube of what Iran was like in the 70s.
Yes,
before
I've been telling people to watch. I've been telling people to watch this. It's so key. Before the revolution, this was one of the freest countries in the Middle East.
Right, and nobody wants to live like these people have been forced to live, which is why what Israel's done here has been very strategic. They're not bombing random people in Tehran. They're going after military infrastructure. They went for the nuclear scientists. They went for the people that were the threat to them, the nation of Israel, and that actually were the threat to the people of Iran. So I think this has been very strategic. I think it's, look, it's unfortunate that there's some blowback happening in Israel right now. My sister and her family are there. They're in and out of bomb shelters right now. So, nobody wants any of that. And, of course, every rocket that Iran shoots is exactly like a Hamas rocket. It's designed purposely to kill as many civilians as possible, the complete reverse of what Israel does. But, Clay, real quick, because I'm sure this is what you've been talking about in the morning, and you sort of alluded to it in the first question. On the America First part of this, I think what Donald Trump has done here is unbelievably extraordinary and is exactly what America First is. America first doesn't mean we have nothing to do with the world. It doesn't mean we have no moral standing or we're purely isolationist or anything else. What it means is exactly what Trump went to Saudi Arabia and hinted at all of this about 6 weeks ago, when he basically said, hey, if you guys want to put old blood feuds aside, if you want to live in peace and enjoy trade and take part in the America that is about capitalism and giving people an opportunity to follow their dreams, get on board with us. And you can see all of the Arab nations are doing that. All they have to do, all Hamas has to do, and, well, Hezbollah basically doesn't exist anymore. The Houthis barely exist, and the Iranian regime barely exists. But all these guys have to do, just stop hating this tiny little country the size of New Jersey that has some Jews in it. Stop doing that, and then you guys will enjoy all of the other benefits that come with being part of a giant American alliance. So to me, we are on the verge of something unbelievably positive here, and we just got to pray that it just keeps going in that direction.
I agree with you, and I'm going to talk about this a lot at the top of the next hour. But to me, really what Trump has been holding out is let's have economic relationships that are mutually beneficial over generations of religious feuding, whether you're Jewish, whether you're Muslim, whether you're Christian, whether you're not particularly committed or affiliated, or you're some other religion, whatever it might be. Let's all grow together economically. He sidestepped much of the religious battle, and I think that's been particularly smart on his Middle Eastern visits. Now, I do think this is interesting, Dave, and I encourage you guys to follow Dave Rubin. Check out his shows, does fantastic work. You can pitch people where they can find you to the extent they haven't already. What would you say, because I'm going to address this top of the next hour, but I'm curious on your perspective. Some people out there on the right, again, on the America First front, but I think they're burned by what happened with Iraq. Because the first time, and I said this just a little bit ago, that my ears really perked up with Trump was when he said, hey, the whole Iraq war was a waste of lives and money. We spent trillions of dollars, basically got nothing. I bet you agree with all of that, too. This is not that, but what would you say to people who say Iran is going to descend into Iraq? We're going to be in a war there. We're going to spend trillions of dollars. Your kids are going to have to fight this war, because that's the argument I think they're trying to make.
Sure. I mean, I think there's like a lot of reasons that argument's very confused. First off, we attacked Iraq, whether you think we should have or not. We attacked. Israel did not. As a matter of fact, we asked Israel not to attack, and when Saddam was launching Scud missiles into Tel Aviv, they didn't even respond at our request. Believe me, they did not. They're a sovereign nation who wants to defend themselves, but they didn't want to risk and inflame a wider war. So that's one thing. There was an American war versus Iraq, where this is an Israeli war versus a country that was promising to wipe it off the map. But to the general notion of people that are tired of these things, I'm completely sympathetic to that. I'm also completely sympathetic to the idea that we should be cutting foreign aid across the board and all sorts of other things that are more in the libertarian lane. But what I would say here is sort of what I said earlier, which is that that America, as the force that it is in the world, we are the last remaining superpower. And unless you want China and to a lesser extent Russia to take over and really spread their ideas, then it's our ideas, but not spreading them the way we toppled Saddam. And then, by the way, there was a kind of year or two of free elections, but then there just wasn't enough on the ground to stabilize that. Or even worse, look what Barack Obama, by the way, did to Libya, where we got rid of Gaddafi, who was a bad guy. They called it a kinetic military action. And now, Libya is basically a failed state. Afghanistan is a failed state. The difference here is that the people of Libya